Hello everyone. In this video, I will tell you about cell injury with reference to hypoxia as the etiologic factor. When a cell sustains a stress more than its capability to adapt, cell injury results. So cell injury, depending on various factors, could be either reversible or irreversible, leading to cell death. Let's now go to etiology of the cell injury. The etiological factors include hypoxia, physical agents, chemical agents, infectious agents, immunologic agents, genetic factors, nutritional imbalance, and aging. Let's now study about hypoxia in detail as the etiologic factor of cell injury. It is the most common cause of cell injury and death. Oxygen is essential for aerobic respiration to generate energy and to perform metabolic functions. So hypoxia may be caused by ischemia, hypoxemia, and decreased oxygen carrying capacity of blood. Let's first go to ischemia as the cause of hypoxia. Ischemia is the most common cause of hypoxia. Ischemia may be described as a reduced blood flow through an organ. This reduced blood flow could be due to block in the arterial flow, for example atherosclerosis, or the block could be in venous flow, for example Budd-Chiari syndrome, which is caused due to thrombosis of the hepatic vein. In third condition, there could be generalized decreased perfusion of vital organs as in the case of shock. So shock could be cardiogenic, hypovolemic, neurogenic, anaphylactic, and aseptic. The second cause of hypoxia is hypoxemia. So hypoxemia may be described as low partial pressure of oxygen in blood. It is lower than 60 millimeters of mercury. So oxygen from environment is inhaled in lungs. From there it goes in blood and then it is absorbed in RBCs. From there it is delivered into various tissues. Now a reduction of oxygen at any of these steps may result in reduced partial pressure of oxygen in blood. So hypoxemia may be seen in the following conditions. First, high altitude. So at high altitude there is reduced partial pressure of oxygen in environment. So there is reduced availability of oxygen to lungs. In the second condition, high partial pressure of carbon dioxide in blood as in case of hypoventilation or COPD. Third, in case of interstitial fibrosis of lung, so that expansion of alveoli reduces and the oxygen in lung also reduces. Third reason of hypoxia is decreased oxygen carrying capacity of blood. In case of anemia or blood loss, though the partial pressure of oxygen in blood and RBCs is normal, the number of RBCs is greatly reduced and therefore the total amount of oxygen carried by blood is also reduced. So the oxygen carrying capacity of blood decreases. So one example of such condition is carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide has 210 times greater affinity to hemoglobin than oxygen. So carbon monoxide binds more tightly and irreversibly to hemoglobin in RBC. So here, though the partial pressure of oxygen in blood remains normal, but the partial pressure of oxygen in RBCs is reduced because the RBCs contain carbon monoxide instead of oxygen. Carbon monoxide poisoning produces a cherry red discoloration of skin and mucosa, and an early sign of this condition is headache. Methemoglobinemia is another such condition in which oxygen carrying capacity of blood decreases. Here, the iron in heme molecule is oxidized to ferric state, that is Fe3+, from the normal ferrous state, that is Fe2+, in heme, which carries oxygen. So the ferric ion cannot bind to oxygen. So the oxygen carrying capacity of blood decreases. Here, the partial pressure of oxygen in blood again remains normal as there is oxygen in blood. But since it cannot bind to the ferric state of iron in heme, the partial pressure of oxygen in RBCs is decreased. Methemoglobinemia may be seen with sulfa and nitrate drugs, and the classic finding in methemoglobinemia is chocolate colored blood with cyanosis. The likelihood of cell injury depends on type, duration, and severity of injurious agent. A short duration hypoxia results in reversible injury, while longer duration of hypoxia results in irreversible injury and ultimately cell death. Cell injury also depends on cell type. For example, neurons undergo irreversible injury after 3 to 4 minutes of hypoxia, while cardiac muscles undergo irreversible injury in 20 to 30 minutes of hypoxia, and the skeletal muscles would suffer irreversible injury in a much longer time. Cell injury in hypoxia may be either reversible or irreversible. Let's now go to the reversible cell injury. The hallmark of reversible cell injury is cell swelling, and the pathogenesis of reversible cell injury can be studied under 4 headings. First, decreased generation of cellular ATP, intracellular lactic acidosis, damage to plasma membrane pumps, and reduced protein synthesis. Let's now go to decreased generation of cellular ATP. Oxygen is the last receptor of electron in the electron transport chain, which is seen on the inner membrane of mitochondria. So this process would result in generation of ATP, and since there is low oxygen, it results in reduced ATP generation. ATP is essential for a lot of functions like membrane transport, phospholipid metabolism, protein synthesis, and lipid synthesis in tissue. So ATP is generated in aerobic respiration, that is oxidative phosphorylation in mitochondria, and it is also generated in anaerobic glycolysis when there is absence of oxygen. In case of ischemia, there is accumulation of waste products in tissue because there is reduced blood flow through the tissue. So in such a condition, both the aerobic and anaerobic pathways are compromised. So the injury would be more severe because ATP won't be produced by aerobic or by anaerobic glycolysis. In the hypoxia of other causes, anaerobic glycolysis will continue. So the ATP will be produced, though less than the aerobic respiration. There are some cells that depend solely on aerobic respiration for ATP generation. So such cells suffer greater ill effect of hypoxia. For example, cells of myocardium, PCT cells in kidney, and neurons of the central nervous system. Next is intracellular lactic acidosis. Now, due to reduced partial pressure of oxygen, aerobic respiration in mitochondria fails, and now the anaerobic glycolysis generates ATP. Due to this, there is glycogen depletion over the time and lactic acid accumulation in cells results. So this would result in intracellular acidosis and nuclear chromatin clumping. Let's now go to plasma membrane pump damage. Due to reduced ATP, there is a lack of phospholipid generation. Phospholipids are required for continuous repair of membranes, and due to lack of phospholipid generation, there is damage to membrane pumps. And these pumps include sodium potassium pump and calcium pump. Sodium potassium pump normally transports sodium outside the cell, and in exchange potassium diffuses into the cell. Due to reduced ATP, the sodium potassium pump fails. This leads to increased sodium in the cell, and this would result in increased water retention in cytosol and cell swelling would be seen. The calcium pump transports calcium outside the cell or from cytosol into the endoplasmic reticulum. Due to reduced ATP, the calcium pump also fails. This leads to increased calcium in cytosol, especially in the mitochondria. This again results in increased water retention in cytosol, and again cell swelling would be seen. This increased calcium in cytoplasm activates several enzymes that are responsible for cell injury. And due to increased water retention in cell, due to both sodium potassium and calcium pump failure, the cell membrane would pull away from the cytoskeleton, and this results in membrane blebbing. Certain cells containing microvilli like intestinal cells or cells of PCT of nephron, when swell, result in loss of microvilli. Next is reduced protein synthesis. Due to increased water in cytosol, endoplasmic reticulum swells and the ribosomes detach. These ribosomes are then dispersed in cytoplasm, and as a result, protein synthesis reduces. Up to this point, cell injury is reversible. Let's now go to the irreversible cell injury. Persistence of hypoxia results in irreversible damage to structure and function of cell, and cell death may ultimately result. Hallmark of irreversible cell injury is membrane damage. So continued cell injury would result in greater calcium influx, and calcium in cytosol activates endonucleases, which is responsible for nuclear damage, protease, which degrades cytoskeleton, ATPase, which depletes ATPs, and endogenous phospholipase, which causes membrane damage. Endonucleases causes either pycnosis or karyorrhexis or karyolysis. Pycnosis is condensation and clumping of nuclear chromatin. Karyorrhexis is nuclear fragmentation in smaller bits, and karyolysis is complete nuclear dissolution. Membranes damaged include plasma membrane, mitochondrial membrane, and lysosomal membrane. Due to plasma membrane damage, cellular enzymes leak into blood, and presence of these enzymes in blood is an indicative of cell damage. So some examples of enzyme detected in blood and the disease which are related to these enzymes include cardiac troponin, which is specific for acute myocardial infarction, AST and SGOT in hepatic diseases like viral hepatitis and acute myocardial infarction, ALT and SGPT in diffuse liver damage, CKMB, that is creatine kinase myocardial band in acute myocardial infarction, myocarditis and skeletal muscle damage, lipase in acute pancreatitis, and amylase in acute pancreatitis and sialadenitis. Due to mitochondrial membrane damage, cytochrome C releases in cytosol. This stimulates apoptotic enzymes in cell and leads to cell death. Lysosomal damage releases hydrolytic enzymes in cytosol. These enzymes are activated in cytosol by lack of oxygen and acidic pH. These hydrolytic enzymes include hydrolase, RNase, DNase, proteases, glycosidase, phosphatase, lipase, amylase, and catepsin, etc. These enzymes digest the cell and result in cell death. So that was all about the cell injury and the role of hypoxia in cell injury. I hope the video was helpful. Please do like, comment and share this video if you do find it helpful. Thank you.